Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Did you see that Choco Taco is coming back? Jimmy Fallon said that's right. President Biden is getting some things done. Meanwhile, Chuck Schumer is all happy about the 755-page bill he called the boldest climate package in U.S. history. Jimmy Fallon said the Earth was like, thanks for printing out all 755 pages, by the way. Big news today, all kinds of stories. Let's start with the New York Comedy Festival. It will be back for its 18th year this year, November 7th through the 13th. Your headliners, John Mulaney and Conan O'Brien, also appearing. Tracy Morgan, Wanda Sykes, Jenny Slate, Bill Maher, and Joe Coy. Let's go down the full list. Mulaney, O'Brien, Morgan, Sykes, Slate, Maher, Joe Coy, J.B. Smoove, Jimmy O. Yang, Mo Amer, Shane Gillis, The Guilty Feminist, Nurse Blake, Miss Patton, Bassem, Youssef will headline this year's festival. This year, the festival will expand to Nassau County. John Mulaney will play the brand new UBS Arena. That's where the Islanders play. And it's about 10 feet into Nassau County. I am not exaggerating. If you're from New York City and you know where Belmont Racetrack is, that's where this new arena is. Seriously, I could stand in New York City, throw a Frisbee, and hit the building. So the lineup we have so far, Wednesday the 9th, Jenny Slate at Town Hall. Then Thursday, Jimmy O. Yang Town Hall, Miss Pat at Caroline's, Joe Coy at the Garden, Conan O'Brien at the Beacon Theater, Joe Coy at the Garden, Conan at the Theater. Interesting. Joe Coy secretly moving a lot of tickets. The movie did not do well and did not get good reviews, but Joe Coy moves the tickets. Friday, November 11th, Mulaney out at Belmont, Miss Pat, 2 shows at Caroline's. J.B. Smoove is at Town Hall. Bassem Youssef at the Tribeca Performing Arts Center. Conan at the Beacon. Shane Gillis at Town Hall. Saturday night, Tracy Morgan at Town Hall. Miss Pat at Caroline's. Wanda Sykes at the Beacon. Bill Maher at the Hulu Theater at the Garden, so that's the smaller part of the Garden, and Mo Amer at the Tribeca Performing Arts Center. Sunday the 13th, Nurse Blake at Town Hall. Interesting, nothing announced for Carnegie Hall yet. Traditionally, there's a lot of Carnegie Hall shows, so probably a lot to come for the New York Comedy Festival. The New York Post has some fun on Gossip Corner. The headline is Martha Stewart dating Pete Davidson. Now, do I even have to read the article? Ask yourself. Is Martha Stewart dating Pete Davidson? Well, actually, maybe. Let's see. Martha Stewart has responded to viral memes suggesting a budding relationship between her and Pete Davidson. They were snapped holding hands at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Martha Stewart, 81 years old, said she's not about to become Pete Davidson's next lover. She said, Pete Davidson is like the son I never had. He's a charming boy who's finding his way. I've invited him to come on my podcast, and I look forward to hearing what he has to say. Staying on Gossip Corner from TMZ, Dave Chappelle was hanging around with comedian Flame Monroe. Flame describes herself as, quote, a comedian that happens to be transgender. Flame was there to support Dave Chappelle at his show in Yellow Springs the other night. TMZ says it's unclear if they hung out before or after the show. Now, as I'm recording this midday on Monday, an interesting Dave Chappelle development, Complex was all excited. There's an episode of Drink Champs featuring Black Star and Dave Chappelle, and it had finally arrived. Complex reminds us that according to Page 6, the Drink Champs website teased the arrival of the episode back in May, but the episode was shelved at the request of Dave Chappelle and his team. So good news that that episode was finally released. Wait, updated 8:15, 11:30 a.m., Complex reports the Drink Champs episode featuring Black Star and Dave Chappelle has been removed from viewing on YouTube. An explanation for the removal has yet to be provided. Conspiracy. The Sydney Morning Herald went to see Chris Rock. They gave his show 3.5 stars, I think, out of 4. Chris has a new Will Smith joke saying, he's bigger than me. He played Ali. I couldn't even play Floyd Mayweather. The SMH adds it's a bright spot in a slow opening stretch that sees Rock offer meandering thoughts on the general craziness of the times. They recapped the rest of his set. It's a lot of the same things that I've talked about in previous episodes of this podcast. I hadn't seen this before. The Sydney Morning Herald said the show is preceded by a montage of stand-up greats Carlin, Kaufman, Pryor, and Rivers. Interesting. Out on Vice today, a new documentary series taking a look at the darker side in the lives of legendary comedians. Some of the comedians in the series, which is called Dark Side of Comedy, are Chris Farley, Roseanne, Andrew Dice Clay, Richard Pryor, Artie Lange, Brett Butler, Maria Bamford, Greg Giraldo, Freddie Prinze, and Dustin Diamond. Wanda Sykes is going to host Ring Nation, a new syndicated show premiering in September. It will feature a mix of eye-catching videos from Ring devices. Oh, man. Yeah, Ring Nation is a half-hour studio-based series that gives audiences a daily dose of life's unpredictable, heartwarming, and hilarious viral videos shared by people from their video doorbells, so it's America's funniest home Ring videos, I guess. A Suit said, "We are thrilled Wanda has signed on to host this fun new take on a tried and true format." At least they're admitting it. Okay, whatever, move on. If you like what I do here, you can buy me a coffee, and good news. I went by the National Donuts chain. There's a big sign on the window. Pumpkin is in, baby. That's right. You can get pumpkin. Now, this morning, I tried to get an iced coffee with pumpkin. Wasn't available on the app. Now, you don't want me to go and talk to humans, right? So I'll wait. I'll keep doing my caramel until the app adds the pumpkin, and then I'll be antisocial. And I'll just punch in large iced coffee, pumpkin, almond milk, and then I'll go pick it up, and I won't talk to any humans, and that's how I roll. So you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. There are $5 in a tip jar, and I'll do what I just told you I was going to do. This week, I'm going to quickly review a bunch of podcasts for two reasons. One, on Sunday, I sat poolside and I listened to a whole bunch of things, and I enjoy them. And two, I'm doing it for the SEO. As I talked about last week, I can title these episodes Some Things, and I can title episodes Other Things. And if I title an episode, say, Theo Von had on Joe Rogan, I'll get more downloads, being honest. But Theo Von had on Joe Rogan. It was a very good episode of Theo Von's podcast. It basically sounded like a normal episode of Rogan's podcast. It was recorded at Joe Rogan's studio. And as a podcaster, I noticed it really spiked Theo Von's numbers. He was up on the regular charts. Usually in the stand-up category on Apple Podcasts, Theo Von has the number one in that category. This particular show, I have to put it in some category, so I have it in stand-up, for lack of a better choice. This one is usually around 25. It'll creep up to 15, somewhere in that range. But I saw Theo Von had gotten out of the stand-up comedy and started clearing not only in the main comedy category, but in the main overall category. Here, let me look now. Let me see how he's doing. There he is. Theo Von is sitting at 38, right between Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me and Back to the Beach with Kristen and Steven. That's in the overall category, and I got to deep dive a little bit to find this show. Let me see how I'm doing. Click on comedy, and you got to go down to stand-up. This is not easy to find, by the way. Number 18 right now in the stand-up category. Very nice. Go me. Numbers are popping on Monday for some reason. That tends to happen. I think a lot of people catch up after the weekend and grab the 2 weekend episodes. Anyway, Theo Von's podcast is a nice, easy listen, pretty popular. You should check it out, especially if you like Joe Rogan. I'm out of the Rogan habit. I just don't use the Spotify app. Maybe in the winter when I start working out inside again, I'll go back to doing what I was doing, which is watching Rogan on the TV. But when I'm outside, I just don't think to use it. I watched some television over this weekend. I'm from 2017, so I watched Kim's Convenience. The rest of you were like, yeah, I watched that 5 years ago. Where were you? I don't know. Missed the boat on that one. It's really funny. But as I've talked to friends, not everyone has seen Kim's Convenience. Kim Convenience, high recommendation from me, 5 years too late. And there's a new show on Hulu called This Fool. I saw it compared to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I don't see that comparison at all. It was nice enough, but I got about 2/3 of the way through episode 1, and then I was like, oh, I'll watch Westworld. From The Guardian, Jerry Sadowitz had his show canceled at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Why? Because its content was, quote, extreme in its racism, sexism, homophobia, and misogyny. There's a foursome for you. Guardian writes, the comedian, whose material has for decades been provocatively and unashamedly offensive, had what was meant to be the second of 2 shows pulled because an unprecedented number of complaints. The cancellation led to concerns expressed by fellow comedians at the Fringe, including Richard Herring, who called it a very worrying development. The Pleasance Theater put out a statement Sunday saying, due to numerous complaints, we became immediately aware of content that was considered, among other things, extreme in its racism, sexism, homophobia, and misogyny. We will not associate with content which attacks people's dignity, and the language used on stage was, in our view, completely unacceptable. A large number of people walked out of Jerry Sadowitz's show as they felt uncomfortable and unsafe to remain in the venue. We've received an unprecedented number of complaints, etc., etc. In a changing world, stories and language that were once accepted on stage, whether performed in character or not, need to be challenged. There's a line we will not cross at the Pleasance, and it was our view that this line was crossed on this occasion. Sadowitz announced the cancellation on his Twitter. He wrote, did a show last night, 75 minutes. Thought it went well. Didn't see any walkouts. Today I'm told my show's been canceled. Great stuff. I'm truly sorry for everyone who traveled to see the show tonight. Guardian said they were told about 30 to 40 people walked out of Friday night's show. More support from comedian Simon Evans said, "If you can identify the line that got you canceled, then I, for one, am willing to nick it, and I think every other comic should too. This is our Spartacus moment." So I'm unfamiliar with him, but The Guardian writes, Sadowitz has long been known for routines that most people would find grossly offensive. He's been billed as magician, comedian, psychopath. The Guardian's Brian Logan described him as the great twisted granddaddy of abusive comedy. In Canada, after he opened the show with the greeting, "Hello, moose effers," someone got on stage and knocked him unconscious. Before the punch, he told the audience, "I'll tell you why I hate Canada. Half of you speak French and the other half let them." Chortle has some more details. One person says, "He got his penis out to a woman in the front row. The problem was not the audience. I knew he was an acquired taste. It was his indefensible content." We'll keep an eye on that story. Sean McCarthy, he writes for the Comics Comic. He's over at the Fringe. He gave 4.5 stars out of 5 to Jordan Gray's Is It a Bird? No 5s yet that I've seen out of Sean McCarthy, but 4.5 is pretty close. Jordan Gray's Is It a Bird? Sean writes, "Sometimes it's just best to take a recommendation from a Fringe performer and see someone else's show sight unseen without looking up any of the program descriptions, interviews, or previous reviews. That's how I find myself on the box late Thursday, discovering Jordan Gray for the first time. All I knew going in was that she did musical comedy. The title of her show pays homage to an opening line for the most classic of superheroes, but before fully flying as a bird, Gray has plenty to say about bats and dogs too. In doing so, she can point out the real hypocrisy of bigotry and transphobia. It's one thing for all of us to know that Hitler loved his dog while hating Jews. It's quite another to think of our neighbors and ourselves identifying pets as family members and dressing them up as such." Aaron Simmons, who has his own show at the Fringe, saw the same performance as Sean and wrote, "Go see her show before she's a superstar. Imagine a mix between Russell Brand and Tim Minchin, but with better breasts." Sounds like a really good show. Now, Chortle went to see Jody Kamali ironing a board man and gave it 3 out of 5. Jody Kamali's ironing board romance sketch was by some distance the standout of last year's character and prop comedy show he performed at the depleted Fringe. There's something about an ironing board, a wig with rubber gloves as hands, that exists in an uncanny valley of looking enough like a woman while still obviously being a household object to serve as a brief double-hander with the expressive Kamali as her passionate wooer. Yet whether the comic and 7 such ironing boards can sustain an hour-long, largely dialogue-free movie spoof, which morphs from rom-com to melodrama to revenge thriller, is very much the challenge he set himself. There are funnier, cleverer, and more artistically satisfying shows at this festival, but very few so fully devoted to their core concept. Jody Kamali, Ironing Board Man, 2:40 p.m. What kind of time is that? 2:40 at the Assembly George Square. And rest in peace, Teddy Ray, a comedian who appeared on HBO's All Def Comedy and was featured on the 8th season of MTV's Wild 'N Out series. Teddy Ray has died at age 32. Comedy Central tweeted, "Teddy Ray was a hilarious and beloved performer. He'll be deeply missed by the entire comedy community." And that is your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and I'll see you tomorrow.